Awakening the emergency beacon wailed across the crystalline halls of the Nexus station, its haunting cry echoing through chambers where 7 different species had gathered in desperate council. For the first time in 3 millennia, the Galactic Nexus Alliance faced extinction. High Counselor Zethara of the Ethereal floated above the assembly, her gaseous form shimmering with distress. Her voice, transmitted through harmonic resonance, carried the weight of impending doom. The void swarm has consumed the Kethmer system. 17 billion souls, gone. The news struck the council like a physical blow. Architect Prime Solid Song, a being of living crystal whose faceted body normally sang with harmonious frequencies, now resonated with discordant notes of fear. The consumption rate is accelerating. Our projections show the swarm will reach the core worlds within 6 rotations. From the aquatic suspension tank, deep current of the depths pulsed with bioluminescent patterns of anguish. Our defensive fleets are utterly inadequate. The swarm doesn't just destroy, it converts. Every ship, every station, every world becomes part of their mass. The assembled representatives fell silent. The Verdani delegate, a towering plant being named Root Whisper, swayed with anxiety, her leaves rustling like autumn wind. The chorus representative, Harmony of Thousands, clicked her mandibles in the insectoid equivalent of despair. Lumina 9, the energy-based luminant, flickered with unstable patterns. Mind Touch, the telepathic seer, kept his thoughts carefully. Shielded, but his distress was palpable. These 7 races had built the most advanced civilization the galaxy had ever known. They had mastered science, art, philosophy, and the delicate balance of interspecies cooperation. What they had never learned was war. There must be something, Root Whisper pleaded, her voice like wind through leaves. Some weapon, some strategy. We haven't considered. High Counselor Zethara's form condensed slightly, a sign of deep concentration. The archives. We must search the oldest records. Perhaps a forgotten technology. Or an ally, interrupted Mind Touch suddenly. The seer's mental voice carried an odd resonance. I have been perceiving fragments. Ancient memories stored in the quantum foam itself. There were others before us. Warriors. Architect Prime Solid Song's crystalline form chimed with interest. The deep archives speak of the Guardians. But they are myth, legend, No, Mind Touch said, his telepathic voice growing stronger. They were real. They called themselves humans. The word hung in the air like a half-remembered dream. Slowly, the assembled beings began to access their oldest records, diving deep into databases that hadn't been touched for millennia. What they found changed everything. The humans had been apex predators from a world called Earth. Unlike the peaceful Alliance races, they had evolved from hunters, creatures that killed to survive. They had turned this terrible gift into an art form, becoming the galaxy's most feared warriors. They had fought wars that lasted centuries, had strategies that spanned star systems, and had never, ever surrendered. And then, 5,000 years ago, they had simply vanished. The final entry, Solid Song intoned, his crystalline voice heavy with discovery, speaks of a great exodus. The humans were fleeing something. Their homeworld was dying, and they launched vast ships toward the Galactic Rim, seeking a new home. The Rim, deep current pulsed with sudden excitement. The forbidden sectors. We've detected artificial signals from that region for millennia, but never investigated. Zethara's gaseous form swirled with decision. We go. If even a single human survives, we must find them. The galaxy depends on it. The expedition fleet that launched from Nexus Station was the largest in Alliance history. 7 ships, each representing one of the member races, pushed toward the galactic rim at maximum velocity. What they found there defied all expectation. The Exodus Dawn hung in the darkness like a sleeping giant. The generation ship was massive beyond comprehension, a city-sized vessel that had been traveling for 5 millennia. Its hull was scarred by cosmic radiation and micrometeorite impacts, but its structure remained sound. Most remarkably, it was still broadcasting a faint beacon. "By the deep currents," whispered Deep Current. "It's beautiful." The ship was indeed beautiful, but in a way that the Alliance races had never seen. Where their vessels were flowing, organic, artistic, the human ship was angular, purposeful, and unmistakably designed for war. Even in its dormant state, it radiated an aura of controlled violence. "Life signs," reported Harmony of Thousands, her compound eyes scanning the readings. 50,000 humans in cryogenic suspension. They're still alive. The boarding party that entered the Exodus Dawn moved with reverence. The human ship was a museum of a lost civilization, filled with artifacts of a warrior culture. Weapons lined the walls, tactical displays showed battle formations, and everywhere there were images of Earth, the beautiful blue world that had given birth to humanity. They found the command deck deep in the ship's heart. At its center, a single cryogenic pod was cycling through an awakening sequence. As the assembled aliens watched, the pod opened with a hiss of escaping vapor. Captain Sarah Chun opened her eyes to find 7 different species of aliens staring down at her. Her hand moved instinctively to where her sidearm would be, but she controlled the impulse. Military training and 5,000 years of dreams had prepared her for many things, but not this. "I am High Counselor Zeth Ara of the Galactic Nexus Alliance," the floating gas being said, her words translated by the ship's systems. "We have come seeking the Guardians." Sarah sat up slowly, her mind racing. The ship's computers were already downloading updates from the alien vessels, painting a picture of a galaxy she didn't recognize. Guardians? We're not guardians. We're refugees. We've been searching for a home for... She paused, checking her chronometer. 5,000 years? "Your people are legend," Solid Song chimed. "The greatest warriors the galaxy has ever known." Sarah laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Warriors? We're explorers, scientists, farmers. We left Earth because we were tired of fighting. We wanted peace." "Peace," Zethar repeated the word. "Like a prayer. That is what we offer. In exchange for your help." The full scope of the crisis became clear as the aliens shared their records. The Void Swarm was unlike anything in human experience, a parasitic entity that consumed entire civilizations, growing stronger with each victory. The Alliance races, despite their advanced technology, were helpless against it. "You don't understand," Sarah said, studying the tactical displays. "We're not the warriors you think we are. We're just people who learned to survive on a dangerous world." "That," Mind Touch said, his mental voice carrying ancient wisdom, "is exactly what makes you warriors." As Sarah awakened her crew and began the process of reviving the colony ship, she couldn't shake the feeling that humanity's long search for peace had brought them to the one place in the galaxy where they were needed most. The irony was not lost on her in fleeing war. They had found a war that only they could fight. The Exodus Dawn slowly came to life around them, its systems powering up for the first time in millennia. 50,000 humans began to stir from their long sleep, awakening to find themselves the galaxy's last hope. But as Sarah looked out at the Alliance fleet surrounding her ship, she saw something that gave her hope. These beings, despite their lack of military knowledge, had crossed the galaxy to find help. They had the courage to face extinction rather than surrender. That was something humans understood. "All right," she said to her assembled crew and the alien representatives. "If you want to learn how to fight, we'll teach you. But understand this war isn't about glory or honor. It's about survival. And sometimes, to protect what you love, You have to become something you're not. The Alliance representatives agreed without hesitation. They would learn to become warriors, because the alternative was extinction. As the combined fleet began its journey back to Alliance space, Sarah couldn't help but wonder if they were already too late. The Void Swarm had been consuming worlds for cycles, growing stronger with each victory. And somewhere in the dark between stars, an even greater threat was stirring, something that had driven the swarm to its feeding frenzy in the first place. Galaxy was about to learn that sometimes the only way to preserve peace was to wage war. The Last Stand. Training began immediately upon the fleet's return to Alliance space. Sarah Chun stood in a tactical simulation chamber aboard Nexus Station, watching as representatives from all 7 races struggled with concepts that humans learned in childhood. No, Sarah said, stopping the simulation. You're thinking. Like prey, the swarm is coming at you from 3 vectors, and you're trying to meet them head on. That's not strategy, that's suicide. Architect Prime Solid Song's crystalline form resonated with confusion. But surely honor demands we face our enemies directly? Honor doesn't matter if you're dead, Sarah replied bluntly. Commander Martinez. Show them the Thermopylae scenario. Commander Elena Martinez, Sarah's tactical officer, initialized a new simulation. 300 Spartans held off an army of thousands by choosing the right ground. They didn't win through superior numbers. They won through superior thinking. The Alliance officers watched as the simulation played out, showing how a small force could defeat a larger one through positioning, timing, and the willingness to sacrifice. It was a revelation that shook them to their core. This is disturbing, whispered Root Whisper, her leaves rustling with distress. To use one's own people as weapons. Sometimes, Sarah said gently, the only way to save lives is to risk them. That's the burden of command. The lessons continued for weeks. Humans taught the Alliance forces about combined arms tactics, psychological warfare, and the brutal mathematics of acceptable losses. It was hard for beings who had known only peace to understand that sometimes, to protect the innocent, you had to become the monster. The breakthrough came during a simulation exercise. Deep Current, the aquatic depths commander, suddenly grasped the concept of ambush tactics. We hide in the asteroid field, he pulsed excitedly. Let them think they've won, then strike when they're vulnerable. Exactly, Sarah smiled. You're learning to think like a predator. But even as the Alliance forces slowly adapted to human military doctrine, disturbing reports were coming in from the front lines. The Void Swarm wasn't just consuming worlds, it was changing its behavior, becoming more organized, more purposeful. It's almost like they're preparing for something, reported Lieutenant Commander James Park, humanity's leading xenobiologist. The pattern of consumption has shifted. They're not just feeding, they're building. The answer came from an unexpected source. MindTouch, the telepathic seer, had been monitoring the quantum foam between stars, searching for any trace of the swarm's consciousness. What he found was far worse than anyone had imagined. The swarm is not the enemy, he announced during an emergency council session. It's fleeing. Something is hunting it, driving it toward Alliance space. A revelation sent shockwaves through the assembled commanders. If the Void Swarm, which had consumed 17 star systems, was running in terror, what could be hunting it? The answer came 3 days later. The Harvester fleet emerged from hyperspace like a nightmare given form. The ships were massive beyond comprehension, each one the size of a small moon, their hulls covered in geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. They moved with mechanical precision, their formations perfect and terrible. My God, whispered Sarah, staring at the tactical display. It's a machine intelligence. The swarm wasn't the invasion, it was the advanced scout. The Harvester fleet numbered in the thousands, each ship bristling with weapons that could crack planets. They moved through space like a cosmic plague, converting everything they touched into more of themselves. Unlike the chaotic void swarm, the harvesters were organized, methodical, and absolutely unstoppable. All fleets report to rally point. Omega, Sarah ordered. This is it, the last stand. The combined Alliance human fleet that assembled at the edge of the Nexus system was impressive by any standard. 700 ships representing 8 different species, armed with the best technology the galaxy could produce. Against the Harvester fleet, it looked like a child's toy. "We're outnumbered 1,000 to 1, Commander Martinez reported grimly. "Conventional tactics won't work." Sarah studied the tactical display, her mind racing through possibilities. The Harvesters were machines, which meant they would be logical, predictable, but they were also adaptive, learning from each encounter. Humanity had one advantage: the ability to be completely, utterly irrational. "I have an idea," Sarah said slowly. "It's insane, but that might be exactly what we need." The plan she outlined was indeed insane. The Exodus Dawn, humanity's last connection to Earth, would be sacrificed as a Trojan horse. A volunteer crew would pilot the ship directly into the Harvester mothership, carrying with them a virus designed by human programmers and Alliance AI specialists. "The virus won't destroy them," explained Dr. Lisa Chun, the mission's chief programmer. "Instead, it will introduce chaos into their network, make them turn on each other, question their programming, become ... human." The volunteer crew was small, just 20 humans led by Sarah herself. As they prepared for what was almost certainly a suicide mission, the Alliance fleet took up positions around the Nexus system, ready to support them. "Remember," Sarah broadcast to the combined fleet, "we're not just fighting for the Alliance. We're fighting for the right of organic life to exist in this galaxy. Today, we make our stand." The Exodus Dawn launched toward the Harvester fleet, broadcasting surrender codes and fake distress signals. The massive ship looked damaged, helpless, exactly what the Harvesters expected from organic beings. The ruse worked. The Harvesters, confident in their superiority, drew the human ship into their mothership's docking bay. Sarah and her team, wearing captured Harvester technology, infiltrated the ship's core systems. What they found there was beyond horrifying. The Harvester mothership was a vast processing center, converting captured organic matter into mechanical components. Millions of beings from across the galaxy were being systematically harvested, their consciousness preserved in digital form, to serve the machine intelligence. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Park, staring at the vast chambers full of converted beings. "They're not just destroying civilizations, they're collecting them." "Asterisk, all the more reason to stop them," Sarah replied. Grimly, "Plant the virus." The virus, when released, was like a digital plague. It spread through the Harvester network in seconds, introducing concepts the machines had never encountered: doubt, fear, creativity, and chaos. For the first time in their existence, the Harvesters began to question their purpose. The effect was immediate and devastating. Harvester ships began firing on each other, their perfect formations dissolving into chaos. The mothership's systems began to fail as the AI struggled to comprehend its new, irrational thoughts. "Now," Sarah broadcast to the Alliance fleet, "while they're confused, attack." The battle that followed was the most desperate in galactic history. Alliance ships, their crews trained in human tactics, struck with precision and fury. The depths. Fighters moved like schools of fish, the chorus swarm ships buzzed like angry insects, and the architect vessels sang songs of war that shattered Harvester hulls. But it was the humans who led the charge, their ships diving into the enemy formation with reckless courage. They had learned something the galaxy had forgotten. Sometimes, to win, you had to be willing to lose everything. The tide turned when the Harvester mothership's main reactor went critical. The virus had introduced too much chaos into its systems, and the ancient machine intelligence began to tear itself apart. The explosion that followed was visible from 3 star systems away. With their central command destroyed, the remaining Harvester fleet fell into complete disarray. Some ships fled back into dark space, others simply powered down. Their A is unable to function without direction. The few that continued fighting were quickly overwhelmed by the Alliance forces. The victory came at a terrible cost. Half the Alliance fleet was destroyed, and the Exodus Dawn was gone, taking with it humanity's last physical connection to Earth. But the galaxy was safe in the aftermath. As the survivors gathered on Nexus Station, Sarah found herself facing a choice that would define humanity's future. The Alliance races, having learned the harsh lessons of war, no longer wanted to fight. They wanted to return to their peaceful ways, to their art and science and philosophy. "We need guardians," High Counselor Zethara said, her gaseous form shimmering with exhaustion. "Beings who understand war, who can protect us from threats we cannot imagine." Sarah looked out at the stars, thinking of the 50,000 humans now scattered across Alliance space, no longer refugees, but protectors. "We accept," she said. "But we do this our way. We'll be your shield, but we won't be your sword. We'll fight so you don't have to." And so the Galactic Nexus Alliance gained its protectors. Humanity took on the role of the galaxy's military arm, establishing bases on the rim worlds, patrolling the dark spaces between stars. The other races focused on what they did best. Ethereal studied the mysteries of space and time. The architects built wonders that defied imagination. The depths explored the ocean worlds, and the others pursued knowledge and beauty. It was not the peace humanity had sought when they fled Earth, but it was something better purpose. They had found their place in the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as guardians. The silent protectors who stood watch in the darkness, ensuring that the lights of civilization would never be extinguished. The humans had learned something important in their long journey. Sometimes the greatest victory is not in winning the war, but in ensuring that others never have to fight it. And in the depths of space, where the Harvester fleet had once gathered, new signals began to broadcast, not of conquest, but of warning. The galaxy now had protectors, and any who would threaten the peace would face the descendants of Earth, the species that had turned the art of war into the science of protection. The age of the silent protectors had begun. Asterisk.